what kinds of things make people sick? Flus, colds, germs, animal bites, and even bad food. And I'm sure there's a lot more than that. Who takes care of you when you get sick? And what do you need to get better when you get sick? What do you need? Or when the last time was that you were sick, what did you use? Did you use medicine, a lot of rest, God's healing? You know, being sick is no fun, is it? I mean, yeah, you do get to watch TV and possibly not go to school. You get to eat popsicles and Jell-O, but it's still not fun. You really don't get to do a whole lot, and it's just kind of makes you feel blah. You know, but being sick can make you also feel not just blah, but just plain unhappy. Some people have really serious sicknesses. And some are even sick for a really long time. After a while, it's not fun at all to stay in bed, is it? To stay alone, to miss the fun that your friends and family are having. And even when you're laying in bed and sick and feeling yucky, did you know that God is with you? That He still cares for you? If you remember that God is with you when you're sick, then it may help you to feel better even though you're sick, because you know there's someone there with you. You know, in the Bible, we talk about a man named Job, and he had 10 children, and he was very, very wealthy. I'm going to go ahead and read Job chapter 1 and verses 2 to 4. And it says here in Job, well, I'm going to read 1 to 4. There was a man in the land of Oz whose name was Job, and that man was blameless and upright, one who feared God and turned away from evil. There were born to him 7 sons and 3 daughters. He possessed 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yokes of oxen, and 500 female donkeys, and very many servants, so that this man was the greatest of all the people in the East. His sons used to go and hold a feast in the house of each one on his day, and they would send and invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. So he has a large family. He's rich. So I'm going to put on some bracelets to represent being wealthy. For some reason, this one won't fit me right now. Well, we're going to put this one on. I don't know, normally I don't have a problem. Okay, here's my bracelet. I'm going to put on some jewelry. See what we have here we can put on. I don't wear a lot of jewelry, but we'll put on a little bit of this. Okay. There, I'll put on a necklace. And there's other jewels right here that I'm just going to leave right there on the table. And it said he had a lot of animals. Now, I don't have with me camels and sheep and so forth, but I have a bear. And this is a buffalo. I have a bird, an eagle, swan, a dog. I think this is an otter. And a zebra. And I have all these animals. And you know, everybody, I bet you like stuffed animals, because we all love stuffed animals. I mean, maybe you have a ton of these stuffed animals at home. Tons of them, and makes you feel good knowing you have them. Well, Job knew God, and Job trusted God. God was very proud of Job. But then Satan came along and decided to try to get Job to stop trusting God. And Satan went to God, and he said this in chapter 1, verses 9 to 12. It says here, Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Does Job fear God for no reason? Have you not put a hedge around him and his house and all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, and he will curse you to your face. And the Lord said to Satan, Behold, all that he has is in your house, or in your hand. Only against him do not stretch out your hand. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. So Job, like we said, was faithful. But Satan was saying, well, Job was only faithful because you have given him so much. But if all that were taken away from him, would he be faithful then? So God told Satan, Go ahead, take everything away from Job and see for yourself what will happen, but don't hurt Job. So in one day, a lot happened. The servants that were out plowing in the land were killed, and the animals were taken. by the Serbians. There was fire that burned up the sheep, and the servants were taken away from them. The Chaldeans made a raid on the camels and took them and killed the servants. And then Job's sons and daughters were all in the same house having a feast, and the house collapsed right on top of them. That is a lot to go through. So, of course, I need to remove my jewelry, and I need to remove my animals because they're gone. I lost them all. And they're gone. Now, how would that make you feel to lose it all like that? That's a lot to go through, all in one day. Have you ever had something sad happen to you in your life? How would that make you feel to go through what Job just went through? I can't even imagine what Job must feel like. But here is Job's response after all of that was taken away from him. And this is found in chapter 1 again, in verses 20 to 22. Then Job arose and tore his robe and shaved his head and fell on the ground and worshipped. And he said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." And in all this, Job did not sin or charge God with wrong. Wow. So he went through all of that. And not once does it say that he cursed God. Not once did he blame God for any of it. So now we're going to read Job chapter 2, verses 3 to 6. Satan went to God again. And this is what he said to him this time. So Satan went back to him, and the Lord said to Satan, "From where have you come?" And Satan answered the Lord and said, "From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking up and down on it." And the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and turns away from evil? He still holds fast his integrity, although you incited me against him to destroy him without reason." Then Satan answered the Lord and said, "Skin for skin. All that a man has he will give for his life. But stretch out your hand and much his bone in his flesh. Oh, touch his bone in his flesh, and he will curse you and your face." And the Lord said to Satan, "Behold, he is in your hand, only spare his life." So again, Satan goes and says to God, he's like, "You know what? As soon as you make Job unhealthy, he'll forget all about you. He'll blame you." And so, again, God said, "Okay, go ahead. Do what you need to." You notice in this whole thing that even though Satan likes to try to trick us and to get us to do wrong, who does he have to go to get to be able to do these things? God. So who is in control even of Satan in those things that he tries to do? It's God. And that is a reassuring thing to know that there is nothing that God is not in control of. Well, back to our story. So Satan was allowed to do this to Job. And so all of a sudden, there were painful sores that came out all over his body. And I'm going to put little black dots, just a few of them. But they would have been all over his body. We're going to put some on my arms. They were so sore and painful. And from the top of his head, it says, down to the soles of his very feet. And they were probably so painful, he had to go ahead and wrap himself up with bandages all over himself. Of course, this is toilet paper, but... And he was probably in a lot of pain and agony. And so even Job's wife at this point said, became very angry. And he told her, or she told Job, she said, just curse God and die. But this was Job's reply then to his wife in Job chapter 2 and verse 10. But he said to her, "You speak as one of the foolish women would speak. Shall we receive good from God, and shall we not receive evil?" In all of this, Job did not sin with his lips. Even after all of that, he still did not sin. And he told her they needed to be willing to accept good as well as bad from God. And then some of Job's friends came to visit. But instead of them trying to make him feel better, they asked him, well, what did you do wrong so that God must be punishing you? You must have done something to make God mad. One of his friends said God definitely doesn't like you, or he wouldn't let you suffer like this. And Job told them that he had done nothing wrong. They wouldn't believe him. One of his other friends said, you must be very wicked for God to trust you like this, or to test you like this, I mean. And how would you feel if your friends told you this? How would you feel if your friends said, well, you must have done something to make God do this to you. You must have done something bad. What did you do? How do you think Job felt? Yeah. He was sick. He probably needed someone to come alongside of him and just say, you know what, everything's going to be okay. But instead, his friends, his wife, they started treating him really badly. And then Job said, maybe it would have been better if I had never been born. So he's starting to feel a little down. And I bet he did feel terrible and alone. But then we're going to go looking at Job chapter 38. And we're going to look and see here what God had to say. Job chapter 38 and verses 1 to 4. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, who is this that darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Dress for action like a man. I will question you, and you make it known to me. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding. Who determined its measure means surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it? On what were its bases sank? Or who laid its cornerstone? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. So, is God in charge of the world? Does Job? Or is it Job or God? Who's in charge of the world? We know that God is, but the question here is it God? Or was Job thinking that he was in charge of the world? Did Job think that he was running everything? Was Job going to tell God that he did something wrong? Job heard God and realized that God was there even with him when he was sick. His attitude completely changed, and he answered God and he said, you can do all things, and no plan of yours is ever wrong. I know I'm part of your plan. Wow, can you imagine going through everything Job did go through himself? And he said, this must be a part of your plan, God, and I'm going to trust you through this, and I'm going to allow you to work through this for me. And then you know what? God healed Job. His boils went away. I'm going to see if my boils can go away here. His boils went away. And not only did his boils go away and he was no longer sick anymore, but you know what else? His riches came back. And it says it came back double, or actually not double, it says 10 times more than he had before. 10 children, more animals, and more jewelry, more gold, because God was blessing Job, because Job stayed faithful to God. Even when he was struggling, he realized, you know what? God is in control of all of this, and I need to trust him to take care of me. So he had learned a lot. Job was sicker than most of us will ever be. But he still talked to God. And he found out that God cares about how we feel when we're sick and when we are hurting. And he knows how alone and unhappy we are when we are sick. We can't change our attitude unless we start paying better attention to God. He is there with us, but we have to talk to him and listen to him. And we need to realize, first of all, that we need a relationship with him. And that we can find God even when we're sick by just talking to him and listening to him. With my whole eye problem that I've been having, it's been kind of tough. And at times, I'll be honest, I kind of felt like Job in a way. But just like Job did, I read through the scriptures and God made me realize that he was there with me and he was there helping me through it and getting me through it. I could not have come through this whole eye thing without God's help, I'll tell you that. He's been there and he's been a good friend to me and he's been helping me, even though it's been hard. And I want you to know that no matter what you're going through, no matter how sick or whatever you're feeling or whatever you're going through, that God is there for you too. Are you willing to trust him? Are you willing to come to him and have a relationship with him and allow him to be there for you and to say to him, you know what, God? I'm going to trust you through this, just like Job. Let's pray. Dear Father in heaven, I thank you for your word, and I thank you for your goodness to us. Thank you for how you constantly watch over us and care for us, even when we're sick, even when we don't know what's going on. And Lord, I thank you so much that all of this is a part of your plan, and that if we trust you, you will help us to get through it. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, we're going to go ahead and look at our verse. And some of you already know this verse. This is a verse we've been working on a bit in Olympians, I think in Children's Chapel. But this was a very fitting verse for today. Sienna actually is the one who thought of this verse. And to be honest with you, I like this verse because it says, Hebrews 13:5b, I will never leave you nor forsake you. And that is so cool to know that if we have a personal relationship with God, just as Job did, we can be assured that he will always be there with us, even when we're going through the toughest of things. So let's go ahead and go through this now. Hebrews 13:5b. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5b. Pretty easy, isn't it? But these are words, this is a promise, and these words are true. And the cool part about remembering this small verse is when you're going through a difficult time, you'll know God is right there with you. Let's go over it again. Hebrews 13:5b. I will never leave you nor forsake you. And that is so cool to know that no matter what we're going through, God will never leave us nor forsake us. Let's go ahead and play a quick game with this. We're going to go make a circle and say each word as we go around in our circle. Let's try this. So let's start here. Hebrews 13:5b. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5b. Now we're going to go back the other way so that we don't get too dizzy while we're playing this game. Are you ready? Hebrews 13:5b. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5b. One more time. Hope you're not getting too dizzy because I know sometimes I do. All right, one more time. Hebrews 13:5b. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5b. And one more time together without making a circle, or if you want to turn around in a circle, go right ahead. But I'm not going to do any more. Hebrews 13:5b. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5b. Remember those promises because those are true and they'll help you get through a whole lot. We're going to go ahead and do our craft. And our craft really is quite simple today. I'm going to go ahead and head over to this side of the table now. And our craft, like I said, is a very easy one. You need a paper plate and some tissues, yarn or string, stapler, scissors, marker, and then you're going to need some construction paper. I went ahead and paint in a paintbrush. So you're going to, first of all, go ahead and paint your paper plate, and you're going to paint the back side of it. I did it ahead of time so that it would have time to dry. Excuse me. So I painted mine last night. So this paper plate has been painted brown. Then your construction paper, I want you to take your hand on the paper and trace your hand around the paper. Then go ahead and cut out your hand. And I did that ahead of time as well, just to save a little bit of time. And now you're going to take it, once it's dry, you're going to take your paper plate and you're going to take your marker and you're going to make 2 eyes on your paper plate. And here's another So I'm making my eyes here, and I'll show you two in a minute. I'm making some eyebrows up top. Make a nose. And this is what mine looks like right now. I didn't make a mouth, and there's a reason for that. I'll let you know that in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and put my hair on first. I just got a little bit of string here, and I'm going to wrap it around and staple a little bit of hair to my paper plate to make the person look like he's got a little bit of hair on top. Right now, with nobody getting a haircut, I bet a lot of you guys have a lot of hair right now. Okay, let's staple this so that it kind of just looks like a little bit of hair on the top. Then you're going to go ahead and take your hand, and you're going to, my hand's a little big, but yours is smaller, and you're going to staple the hand to the bottom of the paper plate, and it will cover the mouth, so you don't need to draw a mouth because it's going to cover it anyway. And I'm going to cut a bit of my hand off because my hand is so much bigger than yours is going to be. So you're going to take your hand and staple it to the bottom of the paper plate. And if you don't have staple, that's fine, you can use tape. And then it will look like this. Now you're going to take a tissue, which I had forgotten to mention, but you will need a tissue or two, and crumple up that tissue however you want to. And you're going to stick that tissue behind the hand, in between the hand actually, and the paper plate, so that it looks like this. And so then it looks like somebody is sick and they're coughing into a tissue. And this is my Joe. And you can make it however you want to. You can add whatever you need to it to make it more fun. And go ahead and make yourself a Job person so you remember the story. And if you wanted to make it so that you can remember your verse better, on the front side of the plate that you're not using, you could easily write in there Hebrews 13:5b, I will never leave you nor forsake you. And then when you're looking at your plate or showing your plate to other people, then you can have the verse on that side. So go ahead, have fun making your craft, and enjoy your day. Goodbye.